Zoe Rushton and Hannah Williams. Zoe was a member of the BBC, now with Cymru, and Hannah is working at the BBC. So hello, ladies.
Hello.
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 Lovely to be here. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. I just thought we'd start by, don't argue now about who's going to start, but I just thought we'd start with you both telling us a little bit about yourselves and what you do in your job roles, basically.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Zoe. I work as a specialist mentor for Skill Cymru, who do the training part of the apprenticeships. So my background, so I started as work experience. So I'm a big advocate of that, as long as it's done the right way. Then I've got a job as a runner, making teas, answering phones and that kind of stuff. And then just worked my way up then through the ranks. So I became a researcher and an assistant producer. And then I sort of took a detour into, well, they call it talent management, but basically that's recruiting, helping people navigate this crazy industry, suggesting training and that kind of thing. And then started work with Skill Cymru back in, that's the end of the summer. So now what I do is I go out and talk about apprenticeships to people, you know, in college or coming out of school or if they want to change in career. And then I also have a one-to-one mentoring service as well, all for free, all on Siop Un Stop, which, as I said, you know, helps people to figure out pathways into the industry. Brilliant,
Zoe. What about you, Han? I know your job title is business advisor.
Yes, so it does what it says on the tin. I advise the business. No, it's basically I am a business advisor for Casualty, Pobl and Famol and River City, which is our Scottish drama. So I support all the programs really, and anything that comes their way that they need help with, like recruiting and manage all the FTCs. I help them crew any freelancers, negotiate rates as well. I'm trying to think what else I do.
Sort out daily crises.
Yeah, a bit of firefighting on and off as well. But I also do lots of outreach to raise awareness, obviously, of all the different careers that we have in the creative industries, and especially here at the BBC. So and then any work experience as well. We try and get that organised. So yeah, it's a bit of everything, all a bit of good.
So Zoe, when you were at the Beeb, were you working with Hannah?
So I used to cover factual and music and entertainment. So they were my kind of specialties. So unscripted, they call it as a whole. So anything that's not drama. Whereas Hannah was all about the
drama. Zoe can't shake me off. We started. My goodness, so many years ago on Doctor Who Confidential, and I'm just, yeah, she can't get rid of me.
Yeah, that was donkey's years ago, wasn't it?
It was donkey's years back in Christopher Eccleston days on Doctor Who. That was 2005. We started on that. So, yeah, that was a brilliant few years.
Oh my God, that'll be 20 years old next year.
Oh, shush, Lisa.
Oh my God, makes you feel old, innit?
It does indeed.
I know, especially when you go into the classroom and you say, oh, you know, you're talking about things. Remember we went into one once. And they were like, oh, it was the most famous person that you've worked with. And Zoe said Kylie, and they were all like, well, Kylie Jenner.
Oh,
like, no,
yeah.
Kylie Minogue. And they were like, oh, who's that? We know Kylie Jenner. I don't know Kylie Minogue. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm old.
Yeah.
I love it. So the main reason for us all getting together today is that the BBC's apprenticeships went live last month. And the applications are open for another 2 weeks up until the 17th of January.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask you both, really, basically, if anyone out there wants to apply, what makes a good application for an apprenticeship at the BBC?
Before we get into that, I just want to say a lot of the outreach I've been doing recently, people are under the impression like, oh, there's no point applying because they'll have thousands of applications. So the competition is too fierce. And I'm like, and I'm like, right, and this, you know, this is from the heart, because when I used to go through applications myself, you'd have far fewer applications than you'd expect.
Yeah.
And after digging down, a lot of it was because people just assumed, oh, there'll be thousands, so I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
But actually, you'd be surprised how few there are. I mean, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you'd think there's thousands, but actually, no, every application gets properly read and given the same amount of time and taken seriously. So I just want to say, before we get into the nitty gritty, like, don't be put off because it's like, oh, it's BBC, there's, you know, I've got no chance. You have got a chance.
Absolutely.
And everybody's got equal chance, you know? So just wanted to get that out there first. Please have a go. If it's in you, you think, this is what I want to do, just do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And Hannah, I suppose if people are looking at the jobs on the BBC website for the apprenticeship, don't quite understand what the job actually entailed, I presume they can just get in contact and ask about it, can they?
Yeah, and I know there's also webinars as well.
Right.
So if they like check social media, because they've been putting all about when the webinars. I'm doing one now on the 8th of January, which is on Teams.
Brilliant.
So you know, I'd say definitely come along to those, because obviously, you know, you're going to have obviously BBC Studios and, you know, BBC Cymru as well are going to be on there. So that's a good, obviously, just a really good way of getting all the information, any questions answered as well. And they do also have like a really good information pack on talking about like how we hire for the early careers schemes, which talks through like, you know, the online application, the tests, and what you can expect as you go through the process. And I would say as well, you've got to have a bit of patience with this as well, because this do take so long. But everyone does hear back, but it is a lengthy process. I don't want people to think, oh, you know, I've done this bit and then that's it. It is a lengthy process. One, obviously, we all have to do the same. And again, there's so many apprenticeships out there that we're having as well.
Is that why it takes so long? Because to be fair, the applications close on the 17th of January, but you're not going to employ these people till next September 2025, are you?
No, exactly. Like when I did the ones last year, like I think I must have had, it was definitely over 50 that I had to look through just as the long list, because I just like to see as many people as what I can. Really, I don't mind giving that time up to do it. I just think it's really important that I do it. So that's why it takes so long, because sometimes it could only be me looking through it for drama I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Obviously, because obviously mine are, you know, drama, but then obviously, you know, there's another team then for public service, and there's a lot more of them.
I think what you're saying as well, what Zoe just said, people think that there's a huge team of people behind you because it's the BBC, but realistically, it's not like that, is it?
No, and I was going to say, I think because the type of person I am, because even though I went to university, what got me into the industry was a training scheme. So I feel, I don't know, I just feel that I want to put more of that effort in because I came through that way. And I just think it's important that I see them.
Yeah. And also, you know, people have, it's a mutual respect thing, isn't it? Because if people have gone to the trouble and they've had the courage to apply, you know, and they're serious about wanting to do it, then it's only fair that people like you, you know, work on behalf of BBC Studios, give the time back to sit and go through the applications properly and really think like who would make a good part of this team.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of care that goes into it. It's not just a box ticking exercise, you know?
No, not. And like, you know, our apprenticeship scheme is so successful as well. And that is due to, I think, the process and, you know, just the time given to literally go through those applications you know, with fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll put a link out for this webinar that you're doing on the 8th of January, Hannah, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this would be for people maybe who are thinking of applying, yeah?
Yes.
And they'd have a chance to ask questions? Or
Yeah, and I know that they've done a few already, so I think they're just continuing it because obviously with the closing date as well, obviously this one on the 8th of January could, you know, scoop up anyone who's sort of in and ahhing or maybe who've had to think about it over the period.
But don't worry, if you can just sit there quietly and listen. You know, you don't have to get involved.
No.
This is not it's not judging anybody.
No,
this is purely information gathering. You can sit there and listen and think, yeah, I can see myself doing that.
Yeah.
Or you could think, oh no, that's not for me. You know, this is purely to educate people on how to apply and what to expect when you do apply. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
Fab. So then people apply then, Hannah and Zoe, and then what happens next? I mean, obviously it takes time to read through the applications, but is it tend to be, are they called in for an interview, or do you do interview on Zoom, or how does it go on from there then?
So they apply, and then with that so when you go on to the page, it might say, like having a cover letter and a CV. You don't actually have to do that if you're applying for the apprenticeship.
Right.
It's you fill in the form and you say why you want to do the scheme.
I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the first kind of separation of those that may go through to the next level and not. So that is absolutely key. And my advice would be from an independent point of view, you know, talking on behalf of Skill Cymru. I think the key thing there, because nobody's expecting you to have loads of experience. No. That's not the point of this, you know. So you're all going to be on the same sort of experience level, as in practically none. But what will separate you is making it relevant to the one that you're applying. You know, making it very relevant to what you're applying for.
Yeah.
And trying to get across your passion for the industry.
Yeah.
You know, rather than this is the same sort of wording I've used for, you know, Admiral Insurance or you know, Barclays Bank. You know, it's like how this person has cleverly told us in this little application, like why they want this so badly.
Yeah, absolutely. And read, and I know this might sound so stupid, but just read what the apprenticeship is that you're going for as well, because people miss out a lot of information that they can use, you know, as to what, you know, why they want to do it. And I always know a little story, something like, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, you know, like it's like, you know, when I found that I wanted to do telly, it was through watching TV show Neighbours. Well, when I was starting out, I was using that in my application. I mean, some people like it, some people don't. But some people was like, oh, you know, little story.
And I got in because I used to rabbit on and on about DVD extras. They do still exist in their forms on YouTube, and you know, but I used to love the behind the scenes stuff of telly and like how it was made and the mechanics of it. Well, of course, I didn't realise that was an integral part of why I got employed. It's like, well, this kid wants to know how it's made, you know. So they could tell that I had that natural curiosity and you know, really wanted to get my teeth into it.
Definitely. I found when we've had crew applications for the crew apprenticeship, that you might get somebody that works in a shop and deals with difficult customers, for example.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you can apply that in telly because you'll have difficult crew, you know? Yeah.
That's absolutely perfect example, that is. Lots of people ask about that. How can I talk about relevant things if I've not got any experience? It's like, well, have you dealt with customers? Yeah. Have you had to deal with a difficult manager? Yeah. Have you had to sort of prioritize a whole load of different things in a shop?
Yeah,
you know, where
it's looking at your transferable skills, and everyone has them. Everybody has them. You know, because I always think, you know, if somebody writes an application, they're like, oh, you know, I work in retail, and you think, oh my gosh, working in retail at Christmas, take my hat off to you. Oh. You know what I mean? But again, that's, you know, that's transferable. That's a transferable skill, because it shows that you can deal with difficult people, like Zoe said, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. I also feel as well with a lot of maybe younger people that they just don't seem to know they just don't realise how many roles there are behind the camera.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why, like, I'm really, with my outreach, you know, that I'm just really, when I go into, especially like some schools and even some universities where people don't actually say that much, and like, oh, this is a bit awkward. So I try and just turn it around onto them and go, right, so what are you interested in? I'll find you a career that we have, and try and do it that way. And then they go, oh yeah, I'd never thought of that.
Yeah.
So what are the different roles that the BBC and BBC Studios are offering then?
Well, I'm obviously going to talk about mine first.
Please do.
So, I've got a costume, so obviously that's really specific. You know, with that, you obviously got to have an interest in costume, and I would say one of the key skills is be able to sew.
Right.
You know, because that's, you know, that is what you're going to be dealing with. And obviously, I've got post-production apprenticeship then as well.
What does that cover?
So that is, you will be part of the editing team. So it'll be a lot of ingesting, I suppose, at that stage.
Because
learning the basics, really. But it's the start if you want a career, I suppose, in editing.
Yeah, and that's that's a very popular choice these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
But people might not realise that post-production means editing and
that's generally, you know, like one of our post-production apprentices from years ago is now an editor on Casualties. So, you know, if that's, you know, where you want to see stuff, or even especially these days with young people, they're so tech savvy. They know how to make things on their phone really quickly, but it's all things like that then that you can use in your application. You know, my own YouTube, or, you know, things like that, because it's effectively those are the skills.
Exactly.
What about things like age? I'm not saying that we're ageist at all here, but are you looking for people 18 plus with the BBC?
Yeah, it has to be 18 plus. There's no upper age limit. It's only the minimum age is 18. You can apply if you're 17, but you have to be 18 when the course starts.
Right, yeah, okay. I always thought that you started in September to sort of tie in with the school years or universities or colleges, you know?
Mm-hmm. But there's no upper age limit.
No upper age limit.
It's just as valid for people who are stuck in a rut in their career and want to change careers. And we've had some really successful examples of that over the years.
Yeah.
Like one of our best ever apprentices when I used to work at the Beeb was a guy who was a teacher for about 8 years, I think.
Wow.
And then wanted a complete change because it was always a burning desire to work in telly. Came to us and obviously came to us with a load of life skills, which is like, you can't buy that, you know, you can't buy that experience. He didn't have any telly experience, but he had a whole bunch of skills and now he did his apprenticeship. So obviously took a pay cut for a year and now he's absolutely flying and he's producing his own stuff. So, you know, we have, it's all ages, but starting at 18.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, you know, I know on the crew apprenticeship we've had people that have just completely changed their career around. But as you said, the life skills always come into it, I suppose, you know. So Hannah, if say you've applied, you're sifting through all your CVs then. What's the next stage then? Do you get to the interview stage by then after that?
Oh no, there's a few more steps before that, Lisa.
Right.
So you do your online application.
Yeah.
And then you obviously, I think you can get a drop down as to like pick which one you're applying for, of which obviously there are many. Then there's some online tests.
Right.
As well. And then if you get through that, then the next stage is a video interview, which I think if that was me 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh my goodness me, I've got to go on camera and be nervous. But don't be, because we really do not judge on the background or anything.
It's all pre-recorded. So you just basically there are questions on the form, and then you just record an answer, so you can do it 50 times and we'd never know.
No.
Right. Okay.
No.
Yeah, and as you said, they're doing it all the time, aren't they? A lot of people on social media, you know.
Yeah, and then there's assessment centres which are usually held on Zoom.
Right.
And then obviously for us, for drama, then we do put in another stage, which is we have in-person assessments, because obviously they are practical roles. We do like individuals to come in and do some practical activities with us, and then after that then there's the offer.
Wow. Okay. And in a way that takes up that 9 months then, I suppose.
Yeah.
So Zoe, regarding your new job with Skill Cymru, could Siop Un Stop offer anything to people that were thinking of applying for the BBC apprenticeships, or any apprenticeships really within the media?
Yeah, of course, and in the wider scheme of things as well. So we have a portal online, Siop Un Stop, which has got all sorts of resources on there. Everything from work placements to networking opportunities, jobs, events, all sorts. And then as part of that, we have a mentoring service, which is me, all free of charge. And it's literally just me having a chat either face to face, or what most people do is get in touch via the email, and then we'll arrange a little Zoom chat. And there's no obligation. All it is a chat about what opportunities there are, or if you've seen something you want to apply to, just me giving a bit more kind of in-depth and bespoke advice really on what might be your transferable skills. And we could also go through your CV and have a look at like what could make it stand out, or what are the do's and don'ts really of creating a good CV for telly and film. So yeah, it's just all free, and you may as well use it while it's there.
We'll put a link on that for that, okay? Because I know that you don't only offer for newbies coming into the industry. You're talking to people that are established and want to step up as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So Siop Un Stop, one-stop shop, has so many different resources on there, including this mentor opportunity that I offer. And it's for people either who want to enter the industry and haven't got a clue where to start, such as for these apprenticeships. If you're thinking, I'd like to apply, but I just don't know what to put on the form, then get in touch, and I can talk you through that, and also have a look at your CV. But then it's also for people who are in the industry already and perhaps have kind of lost their way a bit, or they want to change direction. So it's kind of one-stop shop, as I said, one-stop shop for all, really. Fantastic.
What sort of response have you had? Because I know this is a relatively new job for you, though, from the BBC.
It's pleasantly surprising, actually. Although, I guess the industry is relatively quieter than it's been over the last few years through COVID and stuff. So I guess, a lot of people are thinking, right, well, I need to diversify a bit, or maybe get a few more strings to my bow. So there have been a lot of people getting in touch for that. And obviously people who are just finishing college or school, they often get in touch to think, right, help me, where do I start? But that's also the point of the portal, really. It's the gateway to finding out information from lots of different organisations in one place.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, sounds great. We'll put the link up for that. But one question I wanted to ask you both, something that somebody asked me recently. They basically said, I'd love to get into telly, but I'm not sure about this freelance malarkey. And I just wondered where you both stood on. I mean, personally, I was freelance for 30 years, and it was fine. But I just wondered how you felt about trying to explain that the freelance is the way of the industry, I suppose, Yeah,
it's a tricky one, because it's daunting. In other careers, in other industries, there's a clearer path, I think, on, well, you start as this, and then you do this, and then you do this. Whereas in the screen industries, gosh, if you ask anyone who's got a bit of experience in the screen industries, and they're a zigzag career, they like to call it, is the buzz kind of word, whereby you start in one department and then something else takes your fancy and you move into that department. So when people say freelance, it doesn't necessarily mean freelance in that you've got to set up as a sole trader and sort out your own tax and stuff. It just means really you're on short-term contracts, rather than you've got a job with, say, the BBC or ITV, and then they sort of give you stuff to do. You get employed for a certain project, and then that's it. You've got to find your next one. So it's kind of daunting, because whilst you're in a job, you've got to be sort of thinking about your next job, and there might be gaps. So what I advise people in the early days is like to keep a little side hustle going, as in a part-time job, to keep the rent, paid, or whatever your situation is. Like keep a little side hustle while you're sort of feeling your feet in this industry.
Yeah, I agree.
Hannah, would you say that you're employed? I presume you're employed by the BBC on a full-time contract.
I am here on that. Yeah.
But I presume you work with a lot of freelancers as well.
Yeah, because if you know, like with Casualty and Publicum, all the roles on the floor are all freelance. We don't have any staff, sound or camera people, because it's the nature is they come in, they do a block and they go, and then they go to the next job, and it just works like that. But then with that being freelance, you do learn a lot more quicker as well. So I know some people like, oh, I want a permanent job, and I totally get that. But also, like Casualty obviously is a medical drama, but you could go off and do Doctor Who, and you could be in the future, and then by doing that, that comes with different skills, which you learn from over there, and then you could come back to Casualty and be like, oh, I learned this when I was on, say on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And being a freelancer, then you grow your skills yourself as you go in.
Exactly. And I presume you sort of, when I was freelance, I was on a job, and then people were talking about the next job that was coming up, and then you'd be taken on to that,
Yeah.
It's like a domino effect, really.
Yeah, absolutely is.
And, you make your friends, you make your contacts as you go along, and really the industry seems a lot smaller then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
You just get your sort of working family circle, I suppose,
Yeah, once you get a good, the main thing is that these first few jobs you do well, you're pleasant to work with, and then you get a decent name for yourself quite quickly. Then it's surprising, and people, there are a lot of word of mouth jobs still in this industry.
Yeah.
You're not going to pretend otherwise. Not every job gets advertised, and not every job you go through a rigorous recruitment process like the apprenticeships.
Yeah.
It's very much, could you recommend a good runner? Oh yes, I worked with so last week, they're lovely. It's as simple as that sometimes. So you've got to make sure every chat you have is like an interview in this industry. That's what I would give.
Yeah, definitely. So Hannah, with this recruitment now for the BBC, what will you be looking out for mainly? I mean, is it down to personality, or is it down for the rest of life of a career in this industry, or?
No, I think for me, obviously, we do have criteria that candidates will need to meet as we go through the process. But I don't really, because it's apprenticeships, I don't really like to have anything in mind. I just like to see what people bring to me, because sometimes they can be really surprising on how even they do their video application. Some people really set up their background, and then others don't, and all that. So I with the apprenticeship, you just got to keep an open mind, because also sometimes what's happened in the past as well is someone has applied for apprenticeship, but sometimes I could see them and go, maybe not quite right for that, but they would be perfect for this role, and then you can steer them in that direction and go, do you know what, you've got these really good skills, you'd be perfect for that type of role as well. So it's for apprenticeship, it's just keeping the mind open.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, you just can't tell, can you? Especially just can't tell on paper. So I totally understand why your recruitment is so long, really.
Yeah.
Okay, fab, ladies. Well, listen, thank you for giving the time up to catch up with me today. So Hannah, remind me now, your webinar will be on Wednesday, the 8th of January, yeah?
Yes, at 5:30. If you on the socials as well, it's a BBC Get In,
right,
where all the information goes.
Okay.
There, but like BBC Wales are some really good ones. They got Radio Cymru, Radio Wales, they got ones in marketing, archives. I mean, I would love that. So in an archive. And then they've got they're looking for production coordinators in news, current affairs, and sport.
Wow.
So, there's a lot, and it's really varied.
So maybe have a look at what the jobs descriptions are on the website, and then maybe come armed with their questions at this webinar with you guys on Wednesday the 8th.
Yeah.
And if you want any information from me, or you want to have a look at our portal, it's Siop Un Stop-onestopshop.
Fantastic, Zoe. And Zoe, if anybody wanted help with their application, could they come to you about that as well?
Of course, yeah. Have a look at the portal, and there's a little button there called Mentor, with my lovely face on there. And you click on that, fill out a few bits, and then I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
Okay, fantastic. I forgot to wish you a happy New Year, ladies, when we first got on air here.
Blwyddyn newydd dda.
Yeah.
Blwyddyn newydd dda. Good luck with the recruiting process, Hannah.
Thank you very much.
I hope you get some sparkly new apprentices.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
But as we said, they've got 2 weeks now to apply. Closing date is Friday the 17th of January. And any help you guys can be before, that's Wednesday the 8th, or to email Zoe for the help with an application. That's lovely.
Yep.
Lovely. Diolch yn fawr, ladies. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr, Lisa.